So could you tell us about some major trends, like we were just talking about decarbonization and how the whole supply chain has changed because of the unrest in Europe. So could you tell our audience what are some major trends that you see?
Sure, I'll divide that into two parts, because what's happening at the moment, the major big story in the shipping market is the decarbonization story. The IMO, the what's called the International Maritime Organization, has mandated that by 2030, the ships on the water will have to reduce its carbon emission by 40% compared to a baseline level of 2008, and by 2050 it has to bring it down by 50% and 70% for all the greenhouse gases. So there's a big challenge there. So ships will have to go with new low carbon fuels or zero carbon fuels, and there is a rampant amount of action happening on that part, on that space, where engine manufacturers and ship owners are looking for alternative fuels so that they can cut down emissions by a drastic amount. So we are looking at the possibility of using fuels like methanol, ammonia. Currently we have LNG, but LNG is not a sort of a 100% remedy for decarbonizing the shipping industry, because LNG still has 19% of carbon intensity compared to the other fuels. So essentially, there are two fuels at the moment, which is methanol and ammonia. Ammonia, the first engine to run on ammonia will be out by next year, and the first ship which will have an ammonia engine will come out by 2025. The challenges lay the fact that these alternative fuels, you have to scale up. Globally, there are 85,000 merchant ships on the water, and to scale up that much amount of bunker fuel or the ship's fuel, there's a lot more investment that has to go into put up methanol as well as ammonia. And again, the question mark is, how are you producing the methanol? You need to produce green methanol. You need to produce green ammonia. And these are all products that will require a lot more infrastructure development and investments. Globally, it's going to be around $3.5 trillion of investment that would be required to decarbonize the shipping industry.
And so how would India position itself? Like in our conversation, we spoke that India doesn't own many ships, so to say, out of the 85,000 that are in the world. But still, how would India position itself when we come to decarbonization of the freight? And the other thing is this an opportunity maybe for Indian players to enter this market now that, they wouldn't have to, it would relatively be easier for them to introduce a freight that's decarbon as compared to others who would have to revamp their whole infrastructure.
Yeah. Since India doesn't have a big shipping fleet, it has a dependency on foreign carriers, So going forward, as you decarbonize the industry, your charters, the people who hire the ship, they will be very, very picky and choosy. They will go for ships that are polluting less, because you have a corporate social responsibility, whichever companies or whichever trading entity or whichever refinery or any of the end user who is bringing in the cargo. So in a way to look at what's India's opportunity is that Indian investors should look at buying ships that are efficient, which are compliant with the new technology, which would help the shipping industry to decarbonize. And when they own that asset or that property, and when they go and trade those ships in the market, they end up getting a premium over it. If you look at the flip side of that, if India doesn't invest that, Indian dependency on the ships that are efficient will increase, and the Indian consumer will have to bear that additional freight rates, which will be recouped by the traders or any of the end users.
Okay, so you see that this is sort of like an opportunity moment for India, where if they capture or capitalize this, it might, help the end users, say the consumers in India, as well as the entrepreneurs. Any other closing thoughts that you would like to add?
Yes, the other big issue is that, how the trade flows have been disrupted massively due to the Russia-Ukraine war, which over the last 1 year has impacted every sector of the shipping market, whether it's a container shipping market, whether it's a dry bulk shipping markets, whether it's tanker shipping markets. Charterers or the people who hire the ships, they end up paying a higher freight because ships are now sailing for longer duration. They're being employed for longer duration, and it's being held on the water for a good percentage of period, which pretty much takes the supply of ships out of the market. So this is having a big issue, and from the looks of it at the moment, it doesn't look like Russia and Ukraine war is going to end anytime soon. And even if it ends, it takes a while for the trade flow that is flipped to come back to the normal trading regime. So that's going to be a big issue, because the feeling is that, the forecast is that we will have elevated freight levels, at least in the near term.
All right, sir. Fair enough. Thank you so much for taking out the time and talking to us. It was insightful talking to you. Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.